the client. It is being received by the server. And if cookies is being enabled, the server responds with a cookie. It is being stored in the client end, so that when subsequent requests being sent from the client, that cookie that was stored at the client end will then be used to identify the client.
I think, Matthew.
Hello, can anyone hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you. I think Matthew is having network issues, and we'll just exercise a little patience on him.
Hello, Benjamin. Can you hear me?
I can.
Yeah, Matt is having network issues.
Yeah, I noticed.
Yeah, but he's going to join now.
Sure. Can take his time a little bit, though. Mr. Victor, this one you're smiling. What happened?
All right. Let me start sharing.
Okay.
So to create a cookie, all you need to do is to use the setCookie function. It accepts arguments that describe that cookie you're about to save. And when you create this cookie, like I said, in PHP, it is a way you want to identify any users that is coming to your application, coming to your website. Now, you will use the setCookie function, and it accepts 3 parameters. The first one is the name of the cookie. How will you be able to identify the cookie? Then the value which you want to set for that cookie. Then The third parameter is actually an array that has items. Now, this array has different items which you can as well use to describe the cookie. Although what we are seeing right here, we are seeing all of them fit into the array. If you go to the next slide, you will see them in explanation. Now, I told you that the array is the third argument for the setCookie function. Now, it has some items like expiration. This determines the period, the lifetime for the cookie, when it's going to be deleted, when user will not have access to it any longer, when it's going to expire, so to speak. Then the second parameter is the path. Now it describes what page among your web application, among your pages, what page do you want to have this cookie to be effective? Of course, you can always specify a particular domain or a particular part of your file system where the cookie will be active. You use the paths to describe that. Then we have another option, the secure. The secure is used to determine whether or not this cookie can be used during the HTTP connection. Now, if you supply a 1 as the value to be secure, it is expected that the cookie is only meant for those that has the HTTPS connection. So all of these things are what we use to describe the cookie when we are trying to create it. And like I said earlier on, the cookie is being created using the setCookie function. The setCookie function that has the name, the value, and the third argument is an array. Now, let's see a typical creation of cookie. You can see the setCookie function. It accepts a name, it accepts a value, and an array. The name of the array is options. Check if a post request is being sent to the page from the client end, maybe after filling a form. The way you can try to check if a form value is present, like using the post subscribe, you are checking if it is set, then you validate the entry if it is available, then you set your cookie. You can see how it is being set. We simply use the string name, then we pass in the value that is coming from the post. That value that is coming from the post name, post name item of the array. We are passing it into the setCookie function now. Now, what is going to happen after this is being done? This is available throughout the lifetime of the page until the browser is being closed. Can you hear me?
Sure, can hear you now.
All right. So I was saying how you can set your cookie. You use the set function. Then the first entry is the name which you want to use to retrieve the value later. then you can now insert the value as the second argument of the set cookie. Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yeah. You're back on.
So how can you read the cookie after creating it? You do this by simply calling that by using the array cookie. That is where all the values have been saved. Now, when you use the array, you can now pass the name which you use to store it at the point of creation. Now we are trying to retrieve that name we saved earlier on. From the previous example, we saved the name from the post request. Then we are trying to retrieve it now. We are going to still use that cookie. And this time around, you specify the first argument as, sorry, the index of the array as the name which you use to create the cookie. Then from this point, you can now use it on your website at any page. You can just echo it. That is the PHP way of doing things. Now, how can you delete your cookies? The most effective way to do that is to pass in the expiration as part of the options. Like I said, you need to set the time of the expiration as a moment in the past. You can see that we are calling the time function, then we are minusing it by 60. Doing that is setting the time to the past. When you set the time to the past, you automatically delete your cookie. There are other ways to do that. You can still use the set cookie function, then call the name which you used to create it, then passing the second argument as an empty string. You have deleted it by doing that. Then what about section? Section is another kind of, is an advanced way of using cookies in PHP. Section is different from cookies in the sense that it stores its values, it stores those details at the server end. I said cookies is being stored at the client side, which make it vulnerable to attack. Sometimes it can be stealed by those users who are looking for information to steal. So when you use section, it is much more secure. Now, section works like cookies. When a request is being received from the server, it is then a section ID is sent to the client. Unlike cookies, what is being sent to the client is the full information of that particular user that I want to be stored. But when you are dealing with section, only the section ID is being sent. It is auto-generated and sent to the client, and it is stored there. When it is stored, when there is subsequent request coming from the same client, that section ID is being retrieved. It is being retrieved by the server, and then those values that was stored with that section ID will be retrieved from the client, from the server end, and sent back to the client. I come again. Section is being sent when a request is when a page is requested by the client. The section ID is being sent, not the value of the section. The ID, a unique ID used to identify that user, is being sent. Then a subsequent request coming from that same user, the server will check for the section ID, then use that ID to retrieve all the information for that user from the server side. That is how section works. How can you differentiate section and cookies? One way is that section is storing its information at the server side, while cookies store its information at the client side. Section is much more secure, and thus it's highly recommended in recent time. how can you create a section? You can create a section by first, you have to use the stats, the section stats on any page. When you use that section stats on any page, an ID is being auto-generated by the server. That ID is stored at your own end, which is the client side. Now, this ID will be used to retrieve those information which you saved with that section. As you can see now, we are trying to save a section username. We are storing Anna as a username into the section. First, you need to call the section start. Then we are storing it into the section. Now, when we want to access it, we are now going to use the send section array, then pass in username. Look, can anyone hear me? Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. So how can you section? I actually told you how you can create a section, how you can access the section. Now to delete a section, you simply set the section array into an empty array. That is the first step. Then you then need to set the lifetime to a time in the past. Before, when you want to set the expiration for the section, you can use a plus, a positive sign, indicating that it is a time in the future. But when you want to expire the section or delete the section, you need to set the time, the lifetime to a time in the past, like -16, which will make the option when it is passed to the section. Sorry, when it is passed to the setcookie function, it enables that to destroy the section automatically. Then lastly, you must call the destroy section. The essence of calling the section destroy is to delete the information from the server end. Because when you use the first option, which is to set it to an empty array, and the second option, which is to set the lifetime to the time in the past, you are only clearing the section from the client side. Then to destroy it completely, which is any traces of that particular section ID from the server side, you use the section destroy. So that is how you delete a section, and as well as the cookie, you've learned how to do that. So at this point, I think that is the end of my presentation. I expect that you have a question before the section ends. Please, any question, please. Hello, please, do we have any question, or should I go ahead evaluating my audience?
If there are no questions, you can ask questions.
All right. So my question is, what is the difference between section and cookies? Both of them are used in PHP. What are the differences?
Matthew, find someone and ask, not to waste our time.
Please, who have, okay, let me ask, Itohan. I don't know if I called the name correctly. Itohan. Sorry, can you help me with that answer, please?
The difference between cookie and session. Is that what you asked?
Yeah, simple question.
I swear to God, I was having problem at the beginning of your presentation, network problem, so I missed that part.
All right, no problem. Please, who can help out? Victor, Mr. Victor, can you help us?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Truth be told, although I was having network issue too, but I think section needs you to log in. Am I right?
Section does what?
Needs you to, as in, I think it's the login period kind of the thing.
Okay, Matthew, let me
am I
help
wrong? Oh,
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, you try.
Okay, cookies is stored
Can
as
I?
binds.
Oh,
Who's talking?
Okay. Let me just give an answer to that.
okay.
Section and cookies Both of them are used to identify users that are coming to your website. Section is storing your information at the server side, while cookie stores your information at the client side. Cookies is prone to vulnerability attack because sometimes when it is stored at the client side, it can be, those information can be snatched by hackers or things like that. So thank you very much.
All right, all right.
I'm done, Benjamin.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. It was a wonderful time. I think this is the end of our KD for today. It's almost time for stand up. So let's have a wonderful day ahead. We can all disperse to our various stand-ups. Bye, everyone.
Yeah.
Bye.